Welcome to PASSIONEER Magazine The Podcast, where you'll hear inspirational stories, encouraging news, and in-depth interviews with authors, influencers, CEOs, and thought leaders. PASSIONEER Magazine The Podcast. Bold ideas, brave pursuits, boundless inspiration. Hello. Thank you so much for joining me today, Debbie. And welcome to PASSIONEER Magazine, the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. You're gorgeous.
Absolutely. And so are you. And, shout out to the curly girls. I love it, love it, love it. It is so freeing when I think as women, we allow ourselves to be ourselves. We are such women, that is, we are just such beautiful beings, and it is nice to have a fellow beautiful woman on today. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate the compliment. Now, with all that you do, I cannot wait to have this conversation with you, but I realize that there may be some viewers or even some listeners that are unfamiliar with you and what you do. So first question for you is, tell us just a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much. So I run the Heart-Centered Way, and the Heart-Centered Way is dedicated to supporting women in life, business, and career. We do that in three ways. The first way is through self-care, and that specifically is through heart-based meditation, which I've got a whole story about that we could do perhaps a different podcast around that. The second way is through self-inquiry, which, if you've got the visual, is through the 6 selves, which is just behind me. That, again, we can share more through today's session, perhaps. And the third way is through strategy, because we need 20% is strategy, 80% is the internal. So we do need to be able to have, whether it's, in business, we need to be able to have the marketing plan. We need to be able to have the right team around us. In life, it's being able to manage our time, being able to manage our energy, our intuition. So strategy does form part of that. But my favorite is the heart-based meditation and self-inquiry.
I love that. And absolutely, I can't wait to talk to you more about that. Now, as a woman entrepreneur, there are so many options that you could have taken, so many routes, so many paths. Why did you feel that this particular path was correct, proper, and true for you?
I honestly believe that this path chose me. Uh, I was interested in human behavior from a very young age. I was interested in something esoteric and mystical from a very young age. And when I say very young age, I'm talking the age of 3. So through my own kind of self-inquiry and meditation and prayer, I was unwrapping, where did this all come from for me? What was the first memory of connecting to source, to God, to creator? And it was actually in kindergarten. We call it kindergarten in Australia. I think it might be called something. Maybe it's also kindy in the US. Yeah. And I just remember having a moment of, this sounds very strange, so bear with me, but recognizing that I wasn't my body, recognizing that there was like something else. And I could see the kids playing and, washing their hands or playing in the sand pit. And I had this moment, and it sounds like also very strange, but I was quite angry because I had this memory of being back again, almost like a reincarnation experience. So I thought, oh, okay, so we're all doing this together. We all remember this experience. This is me, age 3, right? And then as you develop, you realize, oh gosh, well, I realized, oh gosh, people don't remember. So shut down, right? So then I went to try and, understand myself, and then did that through psychology, through social work, through meditation, through lots of different avenues. And I went through what I would call a dark decade of the soul, which was just a lot of things happening. This is pre-pandemic, actually. And it felt, very unfair. I'm also very mindful that my life's also been extremely blessed. I've never been homeless. I've never had to go without food. But there was emotional, psychological challenges in the form of relationships around me. There was a lot of loss and grief, a lot of shock and trauma, and it just kept sort of just being thrown my way. And so after 10 years of that, I just went into deep prayer, but I went into deep prayer and said, look, I feel I'm trying so hard. I know I have a good heart. I know I'm here to do something really beautiful. Please, please work with me. Help me to take all of this loss and trauma and grief and learning that I've learned at university and more so in my life experience. And please help me to serve others. And that was really how all of this came to be. So it was never, honestly, it was never a business, although I am very much an entrepreneur. But this was very much just me speaking from my heart and soul to true source, to God, asking, please, how can I be of service? And I've been doing this now for over 5 years. And it is absolutely, without a doubt, my life's mission and my purpose. And it just evolves every year.
Mhm. And I love your story. I love how you allowed your moment of not only wanting to know more, to fully express yourself, but to be free within your being right now and to share that with others. And I find that many times people have an experience, and because they are unsure of what just happened to them, or they're afraid that people are going to think that they're weird or odd or crazy, they don't share that experience. But I think that more people are truly having a, I'll call it a spiritual enlightenment about who they are and what they are and how they are supposed to interact with others. And that when we find someone who understands that, that we should share and we should say, oh my goodness, we are more than just, I like to say, these earth suits that we walk around in, that we really and truly should learn to connect with each other on that heart level. So I could not wait to talk to you about that. So thank you so much for giving that answer. Now, for me, I consider this conversation to be just another line item, subchapter of women's empowerment. That we are starting to kind of spread our wings a little bit, if you will, finding out that we have sisters across the globe. What does women's empowerment mean for you in the work that you do?
Oh, it's such a good question. And I've been pondering this all morning, I have to say. I think it's so unique to each woman. And I think it's really about knowing yourself, owning all of those parts of you, the ones that you love, the ones that you're ashamed of and hide behind the shadows, all of those parts of yourself, and then expressing that in your life. And that might be through family, that might be through your business, that might be through your community voluntary work. It might be through, growing charities and growing your own empire worth multi-millions and billions of dollars. It might be anything. But I think it's when you know yourself and you can actually map back that which you're doing as an expression of yourself out there in the world or in the 3D world is really matching, your heart, your soul, your essence, your being. And I use a lot of words because I want to make sure that listeners and anyone watching the visual is using the word that works for you, because we all have such different maps of the world. For me specifically, it is literally this. So you can see, again, if you've got the visuals, I've got one banner behind me, which is the heart-centered way, and that's got our values there as well, which is kindness, compassion, strength, and resilience. And then you've got the other one, which is the six selves. So this is me in my little kind of world, living my own women's empowerment. And then, yes, I'm really good at, and I've cultivated so many years of helping others to find what that actually is for them. And this is deep stuff. This is not just, oh, I think it's, my purpose is this, or it feels like joy is this. It's really, but what does that mean for you? How does that show up and look and smell and touch and feel and taste? And who are you there with? Who's around you? And how can we keep going in that? Often we'll go to a workshop or we'll do something where we have a vision or we have a download, and then it kind of stays there. But we also have to be able to bring that down into something practical, be able to put that into our calendar and be able to, book in and plan for the podcast and call those people and edit it and have the team to help us, or, whatever else it looks like. And we just keep refining and we keep going every week, every day, every year. And the idea, and this is what my ethos is to play bigger, play beautiful. So playing bigger, meaning, the next level of success, because, I'm an entrepreneur. So yeah, I want to be able to keep growing. And also I love personal development. I want to grow. I want to be, more beautiful, more as in, and when I say beautiful, and I'll get to that in a moment, it's actually the inner beauty. So yes, you're beautiful and you're gorgeous, but it's also, I just met you, but it's the energy that I can feel and I sense from you. And that comes through, whether it's our hair, our eyes, our skin, whether that's, female or a male. But that's what I'm referring to, is that the beauty within ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. I remember um, my mother. Now, I grew up in the South. Now, I am originally from the state of Virginia. many people don't consider that the South because it's on the East Coast. So it has a little bit of a different feeling, let's say, than the South when you think of Texas or Georgia or Alabama, right? But my mother used to say, pretty is as pretty does. And I always understood what she meant. For those that are, of the Christian faith, it's, a beauty. This vanity is fleeting because we're all going to get old. And I understood, old and wrinkly or a little slower or a little whatever, right, than what we are when we're in our 20s. And I always understood that she was telling me, you have to be a good person in your heart. You could be someone who the world may think is less attractive or unattractive. But if your heart is beautiful, people will see that over any blemish on your face. Or you could be beautiful, but if you have a nasty attitude, that's going to take away from that physical beauty. And I never forgot that. And I always said, I hope that what I do, people can see my heart in what I do. So my platforms are all about who are you authentically? Don't put on for me. Don't say what you think I want you to say. I want you to share who you are. So thank you so much for being able to see that I genuinely do what I do because I love what I do and want to bring people on. Thank you for acknowledging that.
Beautiful.
Now, with the people that you help, and I definitely want to give you an opportunity to talk about the six pillars that you've referenced. But I want to give, of course, the disclaimer, and everyone knows what I'm going to say. If you want to know the all of it, you have to book your own personal session. You have to do the coaching. We're not going to give it all away here on the program. With that being said, what are some of the obstacles or difficulties that you find really seem to rank the highest with the women that you assist with your coaching, with your books, with the all that you do?
Very good question. So it really comes down to those three areas that I mentioned before: the life, business, and career. If we're looking at life, often I will work with women who feel like things are actually quite lovely on the outside. They might have the beautiful family, career's okay, money's in the bank, but perhaps for whatever reason, they haven't really connected to their heart or their spirit in this lifetime yet. And so often they will meet me, whether it's through networking or through a podcast or a summit or something, and they'll just say, I don't even really understand any of what you're talking about, but I just need to speak with you, right? So then I will work with them to actually help them to open their hearts, to help them to connect to that really deep, beautiful place. And I want to also say, when I say heart, I spent 12 years, I started in 2012, understanding what this actually meant. And this was a really amazingly profound journey for me of thousands of hours of retreats and workshops and regressions and energy work to really understand the core of who we are beyond form. So it's this beautiful experience of connecting to this place before time even began, where it was really just this love and light and this beautiful space of us connecting as hearts, as beings in that way. And then that journey took me a while to really go, but also I am a physical body and I need to also pay my bills and eat and other things, because it was so profound that it kind of like knocked me out of everything that I had to find my way back. So I'm very much around that middle ground. So hence we've got life, business, and career. Business, I noticed so many beautiful, talented, amazing women running these often wellness and creative businesses, but it can be in other industries as well. But just if you sit with them, they're not making any money. They'll never say that because it's so embarrassing to say it. But because I'm pretty honest and I share about my journey and times when I haven't, and I won't lie, even now, money is not the most important thing for me. But I'm based in Melbourne, Australia, and cost of living's on the rise. I'm a mum. I'm middle-aged myself. I do need a level of income. And so I've had to learn how to be able to do that. And I'm learning every year how I can do that better. And I'm really proud of what I've managed to create, because I have created something that is sustainable and speaks to my heart, does earn money, and doesn't burn me out. I was joking with you that I didn't yet have my coffee. And there were times, in my life where, because I was pushing so hard and working with so much masculine energy, that I would just be exhausted. But the fact that I can actually wake up and not have my coffee yet and run the podcast and do a full day of work is amazing. So our businesses have to earn money. They absolutely have to. So whether that's through someone like me or a traditional business coach, you have to know how you can sell yourself and sell your services in exchange for actually receiving the money in your bank account. Not just, I think I want to affirmation, or I'm going to. No, no, my love, it's actually in your bank account, right? So you can pay for the coffee and you can actually do things and go on holidays and everything else. Um, the next one is career, which kind of was an accident, but I was drawing women in who were like, look, do you know what? I'm just like, I'm happy, but I'm not happy. And like, you seem to be happy and authentic, and I want to speak with you. So what I do is I also help women who are at a crossroads, and they're looking at, what can I do differently that connects me back more so to myself. And I've helped women to be able to create, manifest, draw in their dream job, draw in a job that perhaps they've already got, but they've increased their pay so that they're receiving what is rightfully theirs as well. So yeah, life, business, and career. And it has to have that blend of energetics and also practical elements, so that we've got, again, the profits and the money is actually happening in there.
Mm-hmm. I find that so many times you are right with the I'm doing what I love, but I'm not generating any income, and that's all fine and dandy if you have a support team that's able to help you get through. But I'm finding that some of my clients, they are the sole provider. It is just them, be it that they are single, like not yet married and don't have children, or perhaps they are now newly found single for whatever reason, and they are the breadwinners. And it's I love what I do, but I am so stressed because if I don't sell a package, if I don't sell a program, if I don't do something, I am going to be in the over my head category. And you are so right. I'm finding that people are looking for those that can help them get unstuck from that position and continue to move along the path that they wish to, but also generate that income at the same time. It would be great if we all could just live off love, but that doesn't work.
I
So
have to say, I genuinely tried. I really did. I really believed I could. I don't need food. But yeah, my own personal research has shown me, no, no, I actually do. So we need both.
they do. So true, so true. Oh, the world would be a better place if the other way around. But
Totally.
you are
It's
so right
cute.
there. Now, when it comes to that mentorship that you are giving, especially because I know that you do events where young adults and girls are able to attend as well, and you're giving that mentorship type conversation at those events, but you're also building community. You are allowing women to not only learn through your programs, but also have a place where they feel safe, where they are able to continue to grow and learn even once they have gone through your program. Why is it important for women in particular, but within the space that you're creating, why is mentorship and community so important today?
Hmm. Beautiful question. So predominantly the women I tend to work with are usually over 40. But what I do love, and where I've come and learning more about this is, things like Instagram, TikTok, I haven't gone there yet, but Instagram is really important to be able to attract the younger crowd. And also for me, when I'm just out and about at a shopping center walking around, like I've given books away, I've got an example. There was a young woman, and I've also learned never to assume, because I know that sometimes I'll be talking with someone and they're like, I'm 45. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, you're older than me, but I thought you were like 17. But there was a young woman she was in her 20s, and she was at a local coffee shop, and she was obviously struggling with life. Every time I would go in there, I could feel it. And so I went down one day with a copy of one of my first book, Ignite Your Joy. And I know it wasn't just the book. I'm sure it was other things happening in her life as well. But now when I see her, there's just such this beautiful connection. There's a smile on her face. And so for me, it's the everyday, and I still have learning with this as well, but it's letting people in the traffic, because, people are angry on the road. I don't know how it is where you live, but it's so much anger on the road. And so I often will find myself meditating and praying on the road, going, please God, just keep us all safe. So for me, it literally is, it's not just the programs or online, this is who I am every day. And I'll be honest, some days I call them my poo-poo days, where I'm cranky. I haven't slept properly, or I get triggered by my family or something from the past has happened. And I'm really good at recognizing, okay, my window of tolerance is narrow. So just, go gently, do an extra prayer, do an extra meditation, or do you know what? Have a nap. Go and have a nap, turn everything off, and then come back in, and you'll have this refreshed perspective. Everything will be different. So that's I know maybe it sounds silly, it's not a formal kind of mentorship, but for me, it's just in the beingness of who I am. Community, very important. I've cultivated a really beautiful community online and also face to face. Not a huge one, but over the last few years, there's over 100 of us that have been sort of interacting since COVID happened. And it's really special to be able to have that place where we all feel included, and we can also feel like we can just be who we are. And if we feel a bit crap, we can say that, and we can show up in all our glory, and we can show up online in our jammies if we want to. I've been running a class or a session every Monday, quite literally every week, pretty much every week except for Christmas, called Monday Meditation and Prioritization. And that started quite by accident, because I noticed my own mental health was declining during the pandemic and in our lockdowns. And I knew the benefits of guiding others through meditation, because I just love guiding. So I would just show up online, and then people would say, and I'll see you next week, right? And I'll see you the week after. I'm like, oh, yeah, you will. And then I realized, oh my goodness, this is actually, there's something here. So we've been going literally, as I say, every week for the last 5 or so years now. So that's an amazing community there. And again, we just rock up, we meditate, and come in full makeup if you want to. And I always, I'm always sort of got my curls and something done, because I feel nice and confident when I do that. But come in your jammies, come with your cat, come with your baby, come whatever it is, and start the week setting your intention, opening your heart, and then setting up your priorities for the week, for the day, for the month from that space.
Yeah. Oh, that is so incredibly important. And I am so glad that you also took the opportunity during that lockdown period where, when we were, the global pandemic to me was an opportunity for us to reassess, to realign, to come into a new place of harmony with what we should have been doing. The world could hit the reset button. And once we get out of this, what lessons did we learn? Are we able to move forward with a more positive trajectory? I think that some people took that time to do very similar to what you did, and that was, let's create a space where we can come together, where we can have this community, this camaraderie, where we can learn from each other, that we can pour into each other, and have that collective warm feeling of you are important, you are valued, and you are seen. And I find that those who started, especially during that time period, they are still going strong. There, nothing is lacking, because I think it was a genuine place. It wasn't just, how can I make a buck real quick because I'm not able to go to work. I think those things had their duration, but not all of those types of communities are still in place, because they didn't have the intention of the longevity. It was kind of like a get quick, kind of thing. So I'm so glad that that is still going strong. What that says a lot about the women that are in that group. Now, I want to ask you about, in that same vein of community and mentorship, we are finding that women's empowerment in some places, it's a positive thing. Here within the United States, it depends on who you ask, where they are, and it might be, oh, we're so glad that the women are speaking up. Some are still getting a little resistance. You're not in the States. So, from your perspective, how is women's empowerment? Asterisk, we still love our fellows. Our guys are still awesome and amazing. I'm a boy mom. We love you guys. Don't worry, right? But how is women's empowerment? How is that movement? How is that new mindset taking a hold in your country?
I think that it's definitely here. I can feel it. It's showing up in sports. There's women's soccer groups and different teams and things happening. There's definitely There's women hosting news events, and there's women just everywhere, and also different racial backgrounds and cultural backgrounds as well. So that's a huge part of everything moving here in that way. For me also, this is, just what I've noticed, and I think particularly with my son in high school, but the identity conversation around the gender identity. And I think there's going to be an interesting movement where, those who identify as them, they, who are not what we call cis women. I
Mhm.
think that's an interesting conversation around women's empowerment and how that fits in. When we start to move into a space of inclusion, which I'm all for, of course, but then also honoring and validating those that were born with a certain way, and had a cultural upbringing a certain way, versus those that came to it through their own sort of self-inquiry, I imagine. So I'm curious to see, and there's no answer for this, but I'm curious to see where we go sort of 10, 20 years from now. An interesting point, I was speaking to a colleague of mine, and they were sharing that they were at a job, and a new person had come through, and they were speaking to them about, how are you, and tell us about your kids and your family. It was that, rapport building, get to know you type of conversation. And the woman said to her, oh, have you got a boy or a girl? It was an innocent question.
Yeah.
And the woman's reply was, I'm deeply offended by that. I have they. And I
Yeah.
just thought that actually makes me a bit sad, because the person was asking you genuinely, to build that connection in a new environment. And then I also can understand, if you're coming from a place where you're having to defend your children all the time, perhaps, I'm guessing, I don't know, then you're already on the defense. So I think what I want to share with that, and this is, any advice I give or guidance I offer, is also for myself, as my heart grows and opens, and I become a more beautiful human on the inside as well. But it's, the tolerance has to be both ways, where we understand that everyone does come from the map of their own world, and some people are not as understanding of them, they, because perhaps in their map of the world it is still she, he. It's that's not how things are. So perhaps just being, compassionate and kind, and educating and offering that information, before we kind of step into being defended, which I know is not easy, simple, but not easy. But I just felt was a really important thing to raise here.
Absolutely. And I find that the same, so for the person who's having a hard time understanding that conversation, not that I'm trying to change the subject, but to make it a little broader, because someone's going, what? We have the same type of tolerance, intolerance, confusion during the holiday season. So, as someone who happens to be a practicing Christian, when it is after Thanksgiving, and I literally say that, so that is the fourth Thursday of the month in November, when it's after Thanksgiving, it is officially Merry Christmas, right? You see people at the grocery store when you're out and about, and everyone says, Merry Christmas. Well, many people, to be respectful, they say, well, happy holidays,
Right.
because they're trying to be all inclusive. Some people may say, none of that is true for me, because that's not happy Hanukkah, happy
Yeah.
Kwanzaa, right? Just depending on where you are. But as someone who understands that if someone were to say happy holidays to me, they are trying to come from that place of, I'm trying to give you some of the love in my heart so that you have a really good day. And you're right. I think sometimes we forget that for people that are walking a new path, or they are living with a cause in their heart, that sometimes they do come from a place of all of that heaviness, and that they don't mean to come off with all of that, and that we should equally be as understanding. And you are so right. I don't think anyone intends to discount your holiday by saying Merry Christmas, or slight your Christmas by saying Happy Holidays. And we should include that when it comes to all aspects of equality and diversity, be it gender or race or ethnicity. I like to believe that we are all children of God. We've just been placed in different bodies, in different locations. And if we love everyone first, then the rest will work itself out. So
Wholeheartedly agree.
beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful way to explain what you do and to help people understand that what you do is definitely needed in the world. I love it. I love it. Thank you for that, Debbie. Now, one other thing that you do is you have been an author. And not just do you write books, but you are a best-selling author. Love it, love it, love it. Please tell us about your newest book. What is that about? What was the inspiration behind it?
So I've got a copy here. It's The Transformation Within. So it's words of wisdom from a collection of coaches to help you win at the game of life. And it's an Amazon bestseller. I've written a chapter in this one, and it's a really beautiful read. There's a lot of chapters here that are filled with gorgeous knowledge and wisdom. Mine goes through a little bit around the framework of the six selves, which I'm happy to also share sort of briefly if we've got time as well. So please feel free to have a look at that one. I do have two others out too. And I think at the moment, I've really been drawn to the one that came out first, which came out in 2014, Ignite Your Joy. And that was never intended on actually really being published. It was more of an honoring of my mum who passed away when I was pregnant. And I was coming to understand my gifts of being able to connect with spirit and being able to understand energy. And it was a really scary, overwhelming time. I had no support of the understanding that some of us can really connect to spirit and help them to sort of move on in their journey. And yeah, I wrote that as a way of finding my joy, and joy was actually an acronym for Journey of You. And then I got to the end of it and I thought, well, it's an actual book, you should publish it. So it's on Amazon. It has been for a long time, and that's often been the book that people find me from or refer back to even after 10 years later. And looking at the journey, how it's taken me through where I've come from on my own journey, that book was so significant in terms of helping me to understand myself, to find my true self, and to be able to express that in the world, and then figure out how I can monetize that in the most beautiful, genuine, heart centered way, and then also teach and guide others on that same journey as well.
Mhm. We find that through conversation, that we are more alike. As Dr. Maya Angelou would say, we are more alike, my friend, than we are unalike. And I find that when we sit down, we kind of calm ourselves over coffee, over tea, over, just a nice cool water. When we talk to each other, we find that, hey, you're a human, I'm a human, and we're trying to human as best we can during this lifetime. And especially if you have had any type of any particular loved one pass away, and you're trying to heal through that. My dad has passed away. My mother remarried. My stepfather has passed away. And let me tell you, I could not have had two better dads in my life. I am so blessed to have had them. And because of that, I understand many times when folks say, my parent has passed away and I miss them so. And it's like, yeah, I miss my dad, I miss my grandmother, because they poured into your life so much, right? And what a way to honor them by sharing your story of, this is what I was feeling and this is how I got through it. Life and death, it happens to all of us. So why not have that conversation and help each other get to that better place? I'm so glad that you shared that part of your life with the readers and help them get through it, but also not staying stuck there, right? And
Oh,
being able to rate all of the other books as well, and to help us transform and understand that life is about phases and stages, and how can we be our best self at any given moment. You're doing great
absolutely.
work there.
Thank
Great work.
you. Thank
You
you so much.
are so welcome. Now, I know that I have limited time with you, and thank you again for spending some time with me here today. But before I let you go, if someone wants to reach out to you, what is the best way to do that? And if they want to follow you on socials as well.
Yeah, I think probably these days Instagram. So it's Deb_Zita, and Zita is Zita. Jump on there. I've got some videos on there, and you can always direct message me as well. I'm also happy to give anyone a free access to Monday meditation and prioritization. If they feel called to try that, just let me know either through Insta, or you can find me on the website as well, which is theheartcenteredway.com, and also debbiezita.com.
I love it. Thank you again for being a guest on Passioneer Magazine, the podcast.
Thank you so much.